Hey everyone, so it's been 24 hours and it looks like the ChatGPT history is still missing. So currently we are on the status.openai.com page, which lets us know the operational status of OpenAI and ChatGPT and all the other products that they have, right? So as we can see today, right now, it's the 21st, and there's no downtime recorded today, which is good. But as you guys can see, there are no updates to restoring the conversation. And as you guys can see here, it says history is temporarily unavailable. We're working to restore this feature as soon as possible. Why is that such a big deal? Well, I think it's a bigger issue than people realize, and I'm going to go into it. But let's finish looking at the data first before we make any assumptions. So do I think that they're going to be able to restore the history? I do, and that is because they previously had this issue. Let me go ahead and scroll down right here. March 8th, looks like they had that same issue, and they were able to recover. Now, one thing that's important is to look at the time period between the issue and the actual time period in which it was resolved. So for this one, it probably took around 8 hours or so. And unfortunately, the newest one, let me stay down here for a sec because this time period is actually important. Currently, it's been a little over 24 hours now. So that's a slight concern. And if we continue to look, so now I'm going to go ahead and click on the entire month of March so we can see all of the incidents that occurred. And it looks like, so they had 16 different issues in the month of March.
And the main reason that I think that ChatGPT failed is due to their recovery time for the chat histories, because it's not been recovered yet, even though I do believe that they will. And of course their communication, because once again, many people may not even know about the status page and they have no way of actually knowing the updates or why their data is missing.
The other issue with private chat titles being seen by others, allegedly, they haven't even mentioned that. I haven't seen anything on here. So that's an important factor. I understand why. I'll get into that in a sec. But it is extremely important when it comes to your data. So first, let's go ahead and look at the data that we were dealing with as far as what actually happened with ChatGPT, right? So one important factor is they have one for Dolly right here where it says read details. That's going to go into more detail as far as what happened. But as you guys can see, we do not have that for ChatGPT. And why is that? Well, first, let's go ahead and click on Dolly. So you can kind of go through this entire page. To summarize this, basically, obviously a lot of people were getting over capacity messages, and they were moving to new servers. And one of the I think, where is it? Let me try to find it. Where they mentioned basically that you're going to try to stop basically the queue, in the sense of, if the site is already at capacity, what's the benefit of, people constantly refreshing, trying to get in, rather than allowing it to hit the capacity and then just telling consumers, okay, look, we have to fix that issue, instead of allowing individuals to continuously refresh the page to trying to get a spot in a queue, when it's actually better to just allow the site to recover and prevent more incidents on the server side. So you guys can go ahead and read this entire report. But let me go ahead and jump into, I made a little graphic for us to kind of explain why the history being deleted is such a big issue. All right, so I made this graphic. So if you are a paid consumer of ChatGPT, all right, and we know that Bing is now an investor, right? And they partnered, but ChatGPT on the web versus ChatGPT on Bing I think there's a huge difference, right? Because on ChatGPT, there's a better user experience in the sense of that I can perform my search, my chats are on the left side, very simple, extremely organized, versus on Bing where it's the full search engine. You have the chat, you have search results, you have, images and video tabs, and you have the entire search engine experience. There's a lot going on. All right, so that's one thing to clarify. But once you have a software that individuals are paying for example, with the general population, right? On Bing, it's free, right? They're not paying for that versus on ChatGPT where they're paying for a different experience. So for Bing to really get a return on investment, although it appears that, for example, you would think, is the majority of the profits actually going to come from the ads from the search engine, or are the profits of return on investment for that partnership actually going to come from the licensing and partnerships of the software? What do I mean by that? For example, when they place ChatGPT within the Microsoft Office suite, right? That kind of partnership. And the important reason when we're dealing with the corporate, university, and government level is that if ChatGPT goes down and the data, the history is removed, then guess what happens? All of these other entities over here, they're going to have greater losses than the general population who's just using that service for free. Because guess what happens? If a corporate team is using Microsoft Office and that happens to have, ChatGPT in it, which is the goal, right? That's what they're trying to get it towards, eventually get it licensed so that everyone in the corporate world is using that program. Well, guess what? If the history goes down, that means that maybe that company is not able to meet a deadline, that there's going to be miscommunication as far as the deliverables, meaning maybe certain files don't get completed at a certain time period. So if they are going to include something and all of a sudden that data is lost and there's not a button that's, easily accessible to download your stuff or to back it up to a safe, and I'm using the word safe, place, on the cloud that's going to allow access to it, without having to go to a third party, because right now we do see a few, third party softwares that allow you to download that. But guess what? If it goes down and gets deleted, how are corporations able to access and function properly when they are using that software? So that's a big deal. And where I say safe is that they did not really mention the issue that they had with the alleged exposure of titles of other people's chats. Now, how would corporations handle that if their private data is shared with someone else, with another company, or other individuals have the ability to even access that data? That's a big security risk. So many people are thinking, it's just my history that's deleted. It's like, there's something missing as far as what actually happened that we haven't really heard about. Like I said, I keep saying the word alleged because no one has really, validated what really happened from, OpenAI or ChatGPT. We just hear the experiences of the actual consumers, and then they're just saying, OpenAI is just saying, well, right now we're just missing the history. But the question is why? And that's, I think, the answer that we consumers deserve. And the issue with universities, this is like a twofold answer that I have to actually create a full video on this, about what's actually going on with the students versus professors using ChatGPT. But even if we just analyze, for example, professors who may use ChatGPT for research purposes, can you imagine if you're using that software and all of your data all of a sudden is deleted? What is the purpose of it? As a research scientist myself, that is a failure. That is not acceptable. It's like, why am I going to pay for a service and then use it to research, and then I don't have a way to easily download or back up my data, and then when I'm hoping that it's sold there the next day so I can continue my research, it's all gone. And I have no expectation or time period of if I would even get my work back. Somebody would say, well, it's your responsibility that as soon as you're done, you're going to save it on your own, copy and paste. Like, if this is supposed to be AI, it's like we're still down to basic copy and paste, and I don't even have an easy way to download or save or backup. I mean, you're taking it back to 1999 at that point. You know, that's a huge missing roadblock for researchers and a system that is supposed to be advanced. And then, of course, the ultimate goal would be, for example, where ChatGPT could be used at the government level, meaning all the different agencies, all the different institutions and organizations. So, of course, if, ChatGPT would even get to that level where they are being used at government levels for organizations, it is absolutely unacceptable that the data would be deleted, that the cause and effect of that action would have a huge ripple effect throughout society. Even for something like the VA for veterans. Can you imagine if somehow, let's say they're using Microsoft Suite with ChatGPT incorporated, and the history of the data that they were using in Excel or Word all gets deleted, right? Now we're talking about in future tense because it's not at that full level yet, but I'm sure Bing did not get involved to, Bing and Microsoft know that is the ultimate goal, right? To get everyone using the software as a co-branding strategy. That is the goal. But if OpenAI can't handle or manage the servers and maintain the data, that is a complete failure. So you can see that when we are looking at this entire structure, this is the entire US. So saying that, it's just an outage and we don't even know when the data is going to be returned or if it could be returned. Can you imagine if it was actually placed in every aspect of our society when it comes to software? Because we know Microsoft Office is used already in every single aspect of everything I just named here. So it would be total chaos. And I think it's absolutely unacceptable that we really haven't heard more about what happened, that we have not really looked at the bigger picture of the cause and effect of how this would actually influence every aspect of our society. And it's all interconnected. And as a research scientist, I think we are missing the word ethics a lot, because it seems that the people on the back end, we know this. Look, the systems that we use are... I'm trying to be careful how I use my words, because the technology that is used, for example, at the government level and between, let's say, the university and corporate level, is far more advanced than what is being given to the general population. Like right now, a lot of the AI software that a lot of companies are coming out with, I would say is down here below the general population level. Because I have used software where we can analyze a decade of your life in 30 seconds. No exaggeration. And it will give me a pretty printout of their personality, a psychological analysis, every aspect of who you are in 30 seconds. So you have to understand that if what you're getting is below the general population, I'm sure you can imagine what it's like at the top level. Okay, because they have access to large servers, they have access to, global teams that are working together as far as advancing, technology without limitations, right? So this is a big deal as far as how one data failure affects every step of society, all right? So just putting it out there so we can have a new vantage point as far as paying attention to details. When you're dealing with softwares that are going to be implemented with globally used products and services, it's a big deal. Bringing awareness and just to be vigilant and pay attention to the tools that you're using and the failures that occur, and then look at the bigger picture. There is, I'll just stop here because it's so much. I've been working in the field of AI for at least 15 years, researching first as a student and then professionally. And I knew that as soon as we got to the point and click era, it was going to be a wave of software that would just come out one after another. And the amount of tools that are coming out right now, this is nothing compared to what's probably going to happen. I would say about a year and a half. Because right now they're introducing point and click tools for the general population. But once you get to this top level and the trickle down has to occur, because there's a more advanced system at the top level that must then be used by every single person below it in order to be compliant and everything being able to function properly, right? When different tech gets updated at this level, then everyone else below it has to use it as well. So you can imagine all the different companies having to update their systems and everyone having to change. Now you're dealing with 50 different softwares all at the same time and having to update. It's going to be a lot. And I'm sure you can imagine how many failures, how many mistakes are going to occur to make sure that everyone can be congruent. So be aware and be prepared.